Hello and welcome to Teletraan Tapes, the monthly podcast series where we all take a look at the going-ons of the Energon universe with the Transformers comic series. Now, there are plenty of other comics going on, such as G.I. Joe, which just had a fantastic issue. It kind of crossed over with Transformers. I think all of us here recommend you go read it. There's other titles like Void Rivals, and of course, the introduction of Mask, which is coming this year. But as always, we're going to focus on Transformers here because that's what most people here care about. I'm your host for this month, Delta Trion. I'm here with Carl's Collection as well as Moonbase 3. Swizz was just so angry at me for a bad take I had last issue that he couldn't be in the same room with me. So we're just going to have to figure that out after the fact. He's not here. We wish him well. We hope he gets better. We hope he gets
I
over
just
this
assumed
anger.
he was off researching Mask.
I have heard the rumors that he's going to become a big Mask head, and I think
Yeah.
he's going to be changing his channel to Mask only.
See you soon, Swizz.
Super excited for it because I'm not going to cover that series. I've got enough going on. Okay, guys. Well, issue 31. This is the start of Volume 6. It's a new arc. Is it Volume 6 already? Am I counting wrong?
No, you're right.
Volume 6.
That's crazy.
Wow.
But yeah, you're right.
3 years into the Energon universe. This issue is another kind of, some people call it in TV, bottle episode to a degree. Another kind of single one-off Megatron story. The last time we saw this was issue 19. Daniel Warren Johnson was the writer with artist Ludo Lullabi, who's returned here as well. And this is not really origins or flashback. This is kind of more insight into Megatron as a character and what's been going on. This issue reads incredibly fast. There's a lot of action, and I think the story moments, while very big and impactful for the Energon universe at large, are very quick to it. I want to know if either of you had any thoughts on how fast this issue read. Carl, I'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, I mean, so I have to be honest. As far as like rereading issues, this is the issue I probably have reread the least before we recorded the episodes because I felt like it moved so fast, and I don't feel like I missed anything. Maybe I did, but there were like some big things that happened, kind of like a couple points along the way that were like, oh, that's major, and then everything else was just really fast. So there's I don't know. It really moved, like more so than other issues, I think.
Mm-hmm. Moon?
Yeah, I mean, I'll agree. I think that it did move fast, but I don't think that it moved like too fast. Like I don't mean that in like a negative way. I think it was an enjoyable quick read, just because it was just really kind of cooking through what it needed to get through. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean, not every issue needs to have like a lot of meaty stuff that you want to sink your teeth into. Um, but yeah, no, I agree that it was a quick read, but I thought it was a fun read too at the same time.
Agreed.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, let's dive into it. This might be, fingers crossed, it might be shorter than 2 hours. I think our most recent episodes have always been over 2 hours. But we're jumping right in with the story with the Nemesis. This is kind of following the Decepticons' retreat from what we saw in issues 29 and 30. The Decepticons are back in the Nemesis. Megatron is having one of his freak out moments. He's calling out to Desimir. Moon, you and I were talking about this right before we started recording. I don't know if we talked about this in issue 19, but it seems that these trials Megatron's going through are kind of in his head. I don't know if, Carl, you would disagree with us in that manner.
No, I agree. It took me some time to figure out like when this was taking place because it doesn't
Mhm.
really say. It just kind of jumps into revisits the trials. Whereas back in issue 19, I thought we were just seeing. I thought he was in a location and like he was
Right.
in this kind of like pit or whatever that this was
Mhm.
all happening in, and maybe that is still true.
Mhm.
But knowing that in this issue, I thought it was like it started off in the present and then flashed back to like more trials.
Mhm.
But then I realized it's more akin to when Optimus was in the Matrix and was
Mhm.
talking to Sparky. Like it
Yeah.
feels more like that as opposed to actually being physically in a different location.
Just a
Yeah.
lot more violent.
Right,
Yes.
right. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Megatron is in this space, and he's fighting against Desimir. Again, Desimir is continuing to be a pain in his ass, kind of forcing him to serve. Megatron is fighting back, saying that he will not serve Desimir's master. He's his alternate mode, which has given him this ability to control people. He mentions has failed him. He even makes mention that it's a flawed gift that even when Starscream held him as a gun, Starscream defied Megatron's orders, and he's refusing this gift now. Basically, he's disappointed. He wants a refund on his product, which he's probably not going to get. Megatron is ripped to pieces. He's just this head lying around, which I found pretty funny. Just reminded me of Transformers animated. Megatron was just a head roaming around.
Oh
But
yeah, yeah.
we maybe Starscream. Starscream was a little more verbal, laying around his head. But Megatron mentions here that he was born to command and not serve, and he's told that the reason his power of controlling people is not working correctly is not because the gift is flawed, but because he is flawed. He has not submitted, so others will not submit to him. And we get this really cool view of the matrix inside of Megatron's body. It's kind of popping out. It's got these, I'm going to say dark energon crystals. I don't know if that's what it is. I know it's a term that's kind of generally used in the community and in the fan base, popping out of it. And we actually get some answers. We get this answer that this is the matrix of oppression. It says it's a means to dominate and oppress the weak. And to fully embrace that power, you also have to be oppressed. And Megatron, cries out. He says, who are you? I don't want to bow down to you. And I think that's a small break point that we can just look back at a few of these pages. And Carl, I'd love to hear your thoughts on kind of this opener to this issue.
Yeah, so it was when he then mentioned Starscream that I was
Mhm.
like, "Oh, wait a minute. This is actually after the things that we knew of." But it took me a second. I was like, "They're not referring to something else, are they?" But then I realized, okay, this
Mhm.
is actually happening inside, like it's like a dream or something like that. And then it's kind of answered a little more when I talk more about the Matrix. I was like, okay, this is actually happening inside the Matrix ish some way. Yeah, so I really, I'll say this, and not to like continually look back, but this opening sequence was welcome to me because I feel like we had spent 6 issues of I was kind of like hyper focused on Robert Kirkman dialogue because there seemed to be somewhat of a disconnect between the dialogue and the art.
Mhm.
Whereas I wasn't getting a lot of the emotion of the dialogue from the Dan Mora art. It got better towards the end there, but I really like that. I felt like the art here was telling me the action, telling me the stuff I needed to know.
Mhm.
While the dialogue was still important, it was I was less hyper focused on it. Put it that way. So I it was a welcome, refreshing change after the Dan Mora, which I enjoyed, but it just there was the partnership of artist and writer matters, and I felt it here. Like it was a more cohesive team. Put it that
Mhm.
way. So yeah, I like it. I like revisiting the Desimir relationship and figuring out more what's going on with Megatron and what he's been going through. So yeah, the opening was quick, but I really it was off to a great start.
Moon, what about you? Anything on this? I know it's kind of a short section until we get into the big meaty parts, but anything in particular?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I absolutely love this sound effect when Megatron is being popped apart at the very bottom. Scork. Um, like whoever came up with that one, like well done. That's a good one. Um, but yeah, no, I mean, I think that I share a lot of the same sentiments that Carl has about this. Just kind of seeing a different artist bring something different to Robert Kirkman's scripts has uh, I don't want to say that it's changed like how I feel about the comic, but um, it has, I don't know. I will say that, Swizz is going to have beef with me after I say this, but I do think that Robert Kirkman has been doing a pretty good job with Megatron's voice and dialogue
Hmm.
and just general personality. And I think that that's definitely on display here when he just is, Delta, you brought this up, when he's just a disembodied head here, and yet
Hmm.
he's still just like, no, like, I
Still in defiance.
exactly. He's very defiant, like it really, harkens back to the G1 character. And this isn't the only part, uh, throughout this, there's so many like callbacks to the 86 movie here when he's like negotiating with Unicron.
Hmm.
Uh, but yeah, and I really do like that we're getting some of this lore now, and like this is
Hmm.
just like kind of the first taste of what we're going to get to. But the fact that we have a name for this Matrix thing that Megatron has, um, and we're kind of gonna like flesh that out a little bit. Yeah, like it it turned into something where it's like, okay, I'm excited to revisit this, and I'm also excited to kind of focus on Megatron a little bit.
Hmm.
But it turned into something where it's like, okay, we're going to learn something more substantial about this character and what was set up in issue 19. And yeah, like by the time, I was enjoying it from the jump, but by the time we get to that last page that we took a break at with the Matrix, I was just like, all right, let's go. I'm strapped in. I'm ready for this.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's great to get like answers and have the lore fleshed out more, like you said. Like that was it was really it felt like it was time. Like, oh, but we talked about last episode where this is now like a Kirkman thing, and he's like settled into got the pieces where he wants them to be, and it felt like okay, now we're getting more of the story that he wants to tell, and it just felt really really rewarding. Like, okay, like this is where we're going, and I like where we're going here.
Any thoughts before we move on? Any thoughts between you guys about uh, page 5 where Megatron is surrounded by multiple Desimirs? Do you think that's just a continuation of this almost dream-esque sequence or world that he's in, or do you think there's actually physically 4 of these guys?
I mean, I kind of just assumed that it was like a hallucination kind of thing, like
Hmm.
just like Matrix energy working in mysterious ways. Like I feel like there's some other stuff that happens later in the issue that kind of makes it all kind of seem like this is some weird abstract like kind of almost like dream state.
Hmm.
Um Now, I mean, you could raise the point that that seems like way different than what we experienced in issue 19, and maybe there's some validity to that. But yeah, I don't know. I just assumed that it was just uh, kind of that surreal dream state nature of the
Hmm.
Matrix.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what same here. Once I made the distinction that this isn't happening in real time, that the rules of what could happen were changed. Like I felt like 19 was happening and I felt like real time. So we were seeing
Hmm.
what he was actually doing. And this is more a representation of like oppression. Like he's surrounded, the odds are stacked against him. He is being this force is enacting upon him and he's surrounded. It's just a visual way of showing that he is um he does not have the upper hand, but he's
Right.
still defiant.
Moving on from that, we actually get a glimpse of who this Dark Master is, and it's not the reveal to Megatron immediately, which confused me a little bit. I will admit when I first read it, this is kind of a view, a look into the darkness for us, the viewer. Megatron still kind of this disembodied head, doesn't yet get to know these details. But we see in this page a beautiful, fantastic page of art here with Megatronus in the background. This character who's covered in flames. He's sporting his design from the most recent Age of the Primes toy line, which inspires and brings heavily in from Dreamwave, I believe. Is it Dreamwave or is it War Within, Moon?
Uh,
Both. You're right. War Within was published by Dreamwave. Um, and we also see other characters. We learn that there have been other Decepticon leaders before Megatron, which is very intriguing. We see Straxus as well as this other goober who nobody on this planet knew who this was. Don't lie to me. Don't be like, actually, I knew. No, this is a guy named Tranus from one episode of Generation 1. He's he does I think he dies. I don't remember. But it's neat that they took such a deep cut and used it. Originally, I thought, oh, cool, an original character. But I think it's also neat that they're pulling from something so obscure that it makes you kind of hunt down who this character is. But yeah, we learned that there have been multiple Decepticon leaders in the past, um, and that Megatron is not the first. Megatron is he's being told that he's going to be called upon. He can call upon the strength and aggression of these others, but Megatron, as always, is in a way kind of rejecting this. He's kind of pushing. He says, "I demand more." It seems like he uses the power of this matrix to kind of rebuild himself, and then he goes all the way back into these just hundreds of thousands of trials over and over again, fighting these different characters before he again is kind of subdued by Megatronus. I want to break there and also mention that I did not forget the fact that Trailbreaker shows up here. He's off in the corner behind Straxus for a moment. This is something I did not see on my first two read throughs. A member of my server, I was telling Moon, mentioned that he was there, and I foolishly thought that person was lying to me. Well, they weren't. Trailbreaker's there in the background. And I feel like it's so funny. We've got on this page Megatronus, Straxus, and Tranus, whoever that's supposed to be. These two big players and this nobody. And yet I'm going to ask you, Moon, about what are your thoughts on Trailbreaker showing up in the background? Forget the big players. What is Trailbreaker doing here? What are your thoughts?
I mean, I think it's a super interesting thing. Like at first, when I saw Trailbreaker, I was like, is that like is that an error? Like, did they mean to like draw Trailbreaker here? But I mean, then I started thinking like, oh, this must be like some kind of thing, like the repercussions of Megatron eating Trailbreaker's spark. And like in the letters, like Kirkman, even, in reference to like somebody saying something about,
Why did
why did you
Trailbreaker
kill
die?
Trailbreaker? He's just like, there are cool things. A cool thing is going to happen because of it, or, something to that effect. And so it's like, this is very deliberate. And so,
Mhm.
I don't know. It's vague, so you can only like really speculate. But like right now, my speculation is that like I don't know how many souls Megatron has eaten, or previous Decepticon leaders, but it's just it kind of seems like they are all kind of sucked into the matrix of oppression somehow, and so I have no idea where that's going. Um, but I think it's an interesting idea, and I think it's interesting that they are showing, as they reveal the matrix of oppression and how it works, like right from the jump, it's like, oh, hey, look, here's Trailbreaker, by the way. It's
Yeah.
like, okay.
We're sorry we
What?
killed him.
Yeah. Don't worry, he's still alive in some form. He's just being horribly oppressed every
He's a
second of
ghost.
his afterlife.
Yeah. How about the introduction of not just Straxus and Tranus' characters, but this idea that Megatron is not the first Decepticon leader. He's not the Decepticon guy. There have been guys before him. How did that strike you?
I mean, I liked it because it feels different than what we usually get. Like it's not uncommon for Optimus to be, not the first leader of the Autobots. Like that's usually how it goes in fiction.
Hmm.
But in most cases, Megatron is almost always like he leads the Decepticons. Like he founds the Decepticons in like most of the continuities. So I like that they are breaking from that.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, no, I appreciate that quite a bit actually.
And before we get to Carl's thoughts on Trailbreaker, do you want to give both Carl and I a bit of explanation as to who Straxus is? We know who Tranus is. We have Tranus posters in our houses.
I really just want to make sure that Moon knows who these guys are and the
Yeah,
history
actually,
behind them. I
that's
clearly,
that's a good point. Moon, explain to us who Tranus is, because
Oh,
I'm
you
I'm
guys
worried you
don't
don't know.
know? You guys
No,
don't know about
we know.
Tranus?
No, we know, but but
Yeah.
but for your own sake, you explain to us who these characters are.
Prove yourself worthy, Moon.
Yeah, we trust
So
you.
I will say my encyclopedic recall of obscure cartoon G1 cartoon lore is not perfect, and so
That's
I
what we're afraid of.
actually did not realize who this character was. I was like, I'm gonna have to look this up on TF Wiki later because I do not know who Tranus is. Um,
Nobody did.
right. And then, like
Nobody.
I looked it up on the wiki and he's like not even like technically not even named in the cartoon. It's just
Yeah.
somebody connected him to Tranus from the Marvel comics. But that's fine. I love these. That's kind of a Kirkman thing, right? Since
Hmm.
like Skuxoid, it's like I'm gonna like bring in these really deep cuts. But something that I really like about this is that it's like, uh, I mean, we so far we've mostly just seen Kirkman's love for kind of obscure nods to the G1 cartoon, especially like the latter era of the
Hmm.
G1 cartoon. But now we're like starting to get some stuff from like animated with like the introduction of Bulkhead. But here it's, we've got like these kind of like these three like big pillars. We've got like the G1 cartoon continuity. We've got Straxus from the Marvel Comics continuity, who
Hmm.
was actually created and introduced by, co-created by Bob Budiansky in the Marvel US comic, which those the two issues that he first appears in, squared off against Blaster,
Oh yeah.
highly recommend for every Transformers fan to at least seek out those two issues of the Marvel
Poor
comic. They're
Scrounge.
yeah, poor Scrounge. Did we ever get a toy of Scrounge?
We did.
I don't think. Oh, we did. Okay.
I'll send it to you later. We did.
Okay. Yeah. Well, at least he got his day in the sun. But yeah, Straxus was a very cool character. Is a rare instance of Bob Budiansky like telling a story like set on Cybertron. Like he frequently focused on Earth and like thought that most of the story should focus on Earth, which is a shame because I thought that this two-parter was like a fantastic like glimpse of uh, a G1 fiction with some of that like Cybertron struggle using this
Hmm.
new character, who would go on to play a significant part in the UK comic. He was pretty much done after those first two issues that he was introduced in the US, but he kept appearing in the UK a little bit. So, not that this is a plug for those Skybound Marvel compendiums or anything, but if you want to know more, so available now. Click the link below. No, just kidding. But and then the third pillar is uh, both Dreamwave and Simon Furman, who is another G1 comic scribe, who co-created The Fallen for the War Within series. Who Now this is the part that I'm kind of hazy on. I don't know where the plans were in place for it to be like uh, him to become like Megatronus and all the primes and all that stuff. I think it was kind of roughly there.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, like he was just kind of introduced as like kind of this. I believe he had a connection to Unicron. It's been a while since I've read the Dreamwave stuff, um, but he shows up in one of the War Within sequel series, Dark Ages, I believe. Um, to try to summon Unicron, I believe, to take out Cybertron. But yeah, I mean he was designed by I think it was Pat Lee. It could have been Don Figueroa, but it shares like the same design as his recent toy. If not the same, it's
Hmm.
very close. So I
Yeah.
just think that this is a very cool, like little nod to these like uh, pretty like core components of not necessarily the characters, but they're more obscure characters, but like they're like I said, they're kind of like these three pillars of the G1 lore, and I think that
Hmm.
they're integrated really well here.
Those three characters being Megatronus, Straxus, and Trailbreaker.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
It's a
Speaking of
great way
that,
to. I just think it's a great way to show the history of. It's a great way to visually represent the history of the property by kind of adding elements from everything. Because when I'll talk about Trailbreaker in just a second, just since we're
okay.
talking about
No, you're good.
the
I
other
was gonna
pillars here. Yeah,
push it over to you next.
perfect. So I like when I got to this page, I was like, man, I can't wait to hear who these people are or these characters are because I have no shame in admitting that. Like the Megatronus, I was like I could have picked him out, but like the other two, I was like, no way, I have no clue who they were. Like they're just not on my radar, and I was like, I can't wait to hear like Moon explain who these who these characters are because they were but it was done in such a way that you're like it's not as someone who wasn't super familiar with them it instantly is like, oh, that's who they are. It's like it's the answer to the primes, So it makes what they seem to be doing in the sense of introducing like the matrix of oppression and making it these two equal the Autobots and the Decepticons like it just evens the stories out, like the histories out. Like, oh, there were these, all the Decepticon leaders, and you have all the primes. So it balances like the yin and the yang out really nicely. I think it's a really really cool concept. So Trailbreaker, I immediately was like, "Oh, this is cool. This is like you do like Moon's right. You jump into speculation mode because like what could this mean? Because it's just he's there. Where's Waldo style? Like it's not. It's very easy to miss because I was kind of looking at who these three characters were, and then I was looking in like the perimeter where there's like those other characters in the left, which I was like I don't I mean I didn't know if I was supposed to know who any of those characters are, and then I kind of came around. And I was like, oh wait, there's Trailbreaker back there. So my thoughts immediately, if we go into speculation mode, was something very similar to like Sparky in the Matrix. So it's like this presence that could be there to, um, cause a little bit of a spoiler to Megatron's goals or actions, maybe in the future. Like whereas Sparky was kind of fighting off, uh, like the infection. It's like maybe Trailbreaker has a role to play in that sense, and maybe also maybe just a way to show that he's not fully his soul is not fully lost. And I was thrilled. I was thrilled that we finally saw something that showed that his death meant something and was going somewhere for the story and wasn't just for like a shock value that we sorry Kirkman, but like it wouldn't I would it would be fair to say like Kirkman has done that type of stuff before. So it could have just been a one-off, like, oh yep, Trailbreaker is dead, and it was done to show how ruthless Megatron is right now. But I'm thrilled to see that there's plans and Trailbreaker is going to play some type of role. So I'm really excited. So that was a when I got to that, I was like, okay, I'm really we got the Matrix of Oppression, we got that lore, then we introduce these characters and then see Trailbreaker. I was like, Kirkman, you are bringing me back, brother. So I
Going
was
into
really excited about that.
overdrive.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any thoughts on the way I read this? Is Megatron says he demands more. We get the shot of the Matrix of Oppression. The way I read it, and I wanted to know if you guys read a different way, was that Megatron was using his influence or his power of the Matrix of Oppression to kind of use these crystals to bring his body back together in defiance of what Megatronus has said. Do you guys think I'm reading that correctly, or is there something I've missed?
So I didn't read it that way, but I actually uh I like your way much more than I just thought that like Megatronus like reassembled him for the trials. But I actually like your interpretation much better. I think that fits more, and I think that is just
Mm-hmm.
cooler in general. So I'm going with that. I'm stealing yours.
Woohoo! I
I
win.
actually I read it the same way that Delta did because because the voices, he's saying when called upon they can grant you their strength, and it's kind of like he's like, oh well, all right, well then I'm gonna do that. So he kind of like, and then him, that panel of him saying I demand more, and then that surge of energy or whatever's happening in the Matrix. I took that as Megatron like mustering the strength to stand up and like, no, I'm fighting back now. So which I
Mm-hmm.
think is really cool.
Yeah, I mean, not only is it cool and cooler than what I thought it was, but I do think that it makes a lot more sense given the context of what's happening on the page and everything. So, yeah, no, I think you guys are spot on.
Well, it's definitely something I didn't think of the first time I read it. I think I was kind of almost flying through this issue like I always do when I first get my grubby little hands on the new comic. I'm just turning pages quickly. I'm like, yep, 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 and
Yeah,
then reading it
I
back. I was like, huh.
same with me, 100%. Because like I read it pretty quick, and then when I went back and read it again, that's when it kind of made a little bit more sense to me.
Megatron is going through these trials. He's going from 6,000 to 8,000 to 9,000 different trials, and it's finally his 10,000th trial that he calls it quits. He calls times out. He
Nice
says,
round number.
Do you think he
"Yes,
knew that that's how many times it was? Like,
yeah." He
he's
said,
like,
"Wait
if
a
this
second."
gets to 10,000, then I'm tapping out.
Then I'm tapping out. We get to see Mechanicore again, which is awesome to see this kind of character again from Desimir. I did not expect to see this again, but it was neat to have this character pop back up, or this shell. I know we talked about it when we did issue 19, as to whether it's a separate character or not. I don't remember. But Megatron says that he accepts the terms. He cannot bear another trial, and he's taken to this different area, and he's kind of left alone. And we get these great shots of him kind of traveling through this cave system almost. We do get a dot dot dot. It's unavoidable, I guess, to a degree. But this double spread
I will
page.
say, hold on, before you say that, I
Mhm.
think this one actually is like it's
It
showing us
works.
right there's a reason that something gave him pause, and he's like, whoa, like so it actually is it shows that what we're going to see on the next page should impress us because it really kind of impressed him. So
How dare you?
yeah, I like honestly
No, I
There,
I do agree
we
with
all
you.
have beef with Carl now.
I do agree
what
with you, Carl.
like we the dot 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 thing, it gets overused, but Moon said this best like way back when we first started kind of harping on it, that there are times when
It's
it is
necessary.
very effective, and it serves a purpose, and it's the times where I find that it serves no purpose is when I just kind of like, really, like, what's that? This I think works.
Mhm. Well, that dot dot dot, like you're saying, Carl, leads us into this beautiful piece where Megatron is somewhere with this colossal Decepticon-styled fortress. We don't exactly know where this is. There's a bunch of planets that, to me, look similar to Cybertron to a degree in the background, but Megatron enters, and there's still a few more uh, beings that I kind of look like Sharkticons to me. Something that he's got to fight. Megatron's obviously very pissed. He says he's done with these trials. He wants this to be over, and that's when he comes face to face with Megatronus himself. And Megatronus is telling him, "Hey, it's time to go ahead and give yourself over to me. It's time to bow down. You will receive the true power of the Matrix of Oppression." We do have a Megatron here with a dot 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 again. I'm just saying. I understand this one too, though. As you said, it kind of shows that Megatron is kind of having this moment of pause, of what am I gonna do? And Megatronus, says, "Hey, the only other option you have here is basically to be dead." He says, "The only other offer is oblivion. As alternative to servitude." And I really want to talk about this section here real quick before I ask you guys. I love the art of Megatron with his helmet kind of covering his eyes in shadow as if he's considering what he's going to do, and then this scene here where you see his eyes underneath his helmet, um, and he agrees to walk Megatronus's path. And what I want to say here is, I've seen other people comment on this issue saying they disliked it because to them Megatron just gave up. He's this ultimate warrior, and he just said, "Okay, never mind, I give up. I work for Megatronus." But I didn't read it that way. I don't know about you guys. I read it as Megatron truly standing here in front of Megatronus, having a moment thinking to himself, what is my next play going to be? How do I get out of this? And him realizing right now, the only thing I can do is submit because I don't want to submit, but I definitely don't want to die. And so for this moment here, I'm going to submit. And we even see that in Megatron's dialogue where he says, I will, and there's a period after every word, walk your path. And so to at least me, it really felt like he was kind of saying it between his teeth, begrudgingly saying, "Fine, I will be your servant," in this very harsh way. I don't know if you guys read it that way or if you felt that he is just giving up. Moon, how did you read it?
Well, I didn't read it as him just giving up, and I also disagree with that. I think that they did a good job of earning this moment personally, because I think that they set it up way back in issue 19. Um, because even then, like he was defiant, and they put him through all those trials, and eventually he was just like, "I've had enough," and then you know, so he's but while he did kind of submit, although I guess not all the way. I don't know. It's still a little unclear how all that works here. But while he did submit back then, clearly it wasn't enough. And like there was still some kind of rebellious streak to him. And so I did not read it that way. Like I giving up, somebody who's giving up doesn't go through 10,000 deaths essentially, right? Like he's basically tortured like 10,000 different times in these trials, and presumably experiences a painful death each time. And all of that, as we learn in issue 19, was to grind him down and to make him feel small and like he was nothing. And like in issue 19, like Megatron is still defiant. And I think you're right on the money, Delta. Like, I think that he is like, I don't have any other play here right now. I just need to get through this, and then I'm going to figure out how to get out of this. And so I really think that it's just a straight up callback. I mean, even when it's, he says like, I accept your terms, like it's a straight up callback to the 86 animated movie,
Hmm.
where Megatron was defiant there. Like, I mean, I kind of think that the animated movie Megatron gave up easier than this version of Megatron, if you want to use that word, like giving up, like because Unicron was basically like, okay, you don't really get to make the make the demands here, so I'm just gonna you're not gonna do it. That's fine. I'm just gonna destroy you. And then
Yeah,
Megatron's like, no, I'll do it
I'm
actually.
in.
Yeah,
Let's do
and
it.
so I feel like that's very much in keeping with that, and I feel like it's. I mean, I think it tracks just with what our understanding of G1 Megatron is, and like I mean, obviously, this Megatron is like a different iteration and everything, but still very much rooted in the G1 version of the character. And so I think we're seeing something here that's very familiar. And it's not him giving up, because in the 86 movie, he didn't give up. And he was just biding his time, looking for the right opportunity to turn on Unicron and try to break free of his control. And so I think that's exactly what we're seeing here.
Yeah, and I think you could read it that his you could read it all the way through that Megatron never broke. He still hasn't broken. Even when it says like stop, I accept your terms, it's just him like, look, this is getting me nowhere. So the only way forward is to figure out what the next steps are and then how do I get out of that? It's not necessarily that he is broken or that they were successful in breaking Megatron or like breaking him down. You could read it that he just is like, look, I don't know that like this is clearly not working. This is getting me nowhere. The only way forward is to figure out what what is next, and how do I move forward after that? So, but with what you were saying, Delta, with in the art, and this is again, I love what the art is giving me here, because it's telling us exactly what you pointed out. It's his, that moment of, he puts his head down, he's like, all right, so let me figure this
Let me
out.
think.
And right, and then that you see the close up shot of the eyes, and that's what you see is Megatron going like, yeah, all right, the only way I can do this is accept these terms, and it's servitude. But it's the close up of the eyes is what told me that his spirit is not broken, and he is still determined. And then uh, on the next page, when he's kneeling, when he says that I will walk your path, and again, you think you're right. The dot 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 after I will is important. But also the art, like what that shows me is the way that his lower jaw is kind of like he's like, he's still he's tense in that moment. He's just like
Clenching his
it's
jaw
like
almost.
right, and it's like paining him to say this, but he's not broken here. He's just, this is his path forward. Whatever getting out of this looks like, the only way to get there is by doing this. And in true Megatron fashion, it's pissing him off that he has to do this, but he's gonna do it. It's the art. The art told me that, and that's yeah. I just I like seeing that.
Yeah, and I'll absolutely admit that when issue 19 came out, I was not the hugest fan of the art,
Nor
just
was I.
because just
How
because it
the
was something.
I know.
turntables have
Well, hold on a
turned.
second now. I may still hate it. But I feel like I'm not saying that it didn't work in 19. For some reason, I can't explain why. It just clicked with me here. And maybe it's because I had more time with issue 19 since then. I think, Moon, you said it's been almost a year now since issue
I
19. Is
think it
that
has
correct?
been a year.
Crazy. So crazy.
Yeah, that's nuts.
Um, so maybe my mind is just easier on it. But I love the motion that is drawn here. I love the way Megatronus is drawn with these flames just encompassing him or engulfing him really. And it's such a style that, again, I originally did not like, but I'm connecting with so well, especially with some of the moments here that don't have as much dialogue, because I feel like it's allowing the artist's voice to speak through with the action and what's going on. Even some of these scenes where Megatron's just walking, or that giant scene of the Decepticon castle. I think it's just an amazing moment to let, like you said, Carl, to let the art speak to us.
And it's also a really nice bridge. It's also a really nice bridge uh, from what we were seeing with Mora back
Hmm.
the start of this arc. It's a nice bridge into what will hopefully be a very long Jason Howard run, because it's we're kind of going back to a style here that's more akin to like what we got in the first 24 issues.
Hmm.
So, and I'm not saying it's not that Dan Mora didn't do a good job, but I just it's there was a sense of coming home a little bit with this issue. And it's not just because it's Ludo Lullabi and we've seen his work before. It was just because of the style, I think.
But along those lines, I think it's helpful that issue 19 was new. Issue 19 was was a like a change from something we had been used to. Like Jorge Corona at that point had been on a lot of issues, and then we had Jason Howard on the 2 issues, and the style was not, I don't want to say jarring, but it was a change for me to accept it. So I was just like, I don't know about this. Like it felt a little more animated, and I just was like, I wasn't quite ready to accept it then. Oh, and I've talked, I think we've talked about this before, that 19, the more we got after the fact, the more we got Megatron story, and it 19 was elevated by the actions of like the events of like later issues, and it became because we had reread it and revisited it, it becomes familiar. And then here it's not a new thing, it is something familiar. So it shows you that while some things can be jarring or difficult to accept early on, uh, that like time really does do favors to a lot of the things that are like surprising or new or jarring like in those moments. So, but also I will say I think the art on like his art on this issue is stronger than 19.
I would
Not
agree
to
with
say
that.
that 19 is bad. It is, and I think it shows that it's him revisiting the character and has done it already. And but it's great. I think it's a really solid issue. So it just give things time, and it'll all you know. You just take a breather and like, all right, things aren't so bad. But yeah, it was a welcome change to see this again.
I guess I kind of dropped the ball here because the issue's not over. We're kind of talking end of issue, but there's a few more pages here where Megatron is brought back to the Nemesis. He has a big old thunk, and he just kind of he falls onto the ground. I love the top of this last page where he's just laying flat on the floor with his arms and legs out. That's what I do when I get home from work. I just kind of thunk. But he starts to be encompassed by these purple crystals that we had seen before that were kind of emitting outside of the matrix of oppression. There's these loud noises that are going with him, and Soundwave exclaims that he lives, but something's happening, and the other Decepticons say, "Well, he's changing, but into what?" And we just see this pile of these purple spikes, and that's the end of the issue. Obviously, kind of bringing us towards or alluding to some type of physical change with Megatron, which would probably work nicely with the fact that Optimus is now also changed. Carl, what are your? I'd like to know your thoughts on this ending, but also your theories as for what Megatron is becoming.
I mean, I I don't this, this is where I with the parallels of some of the dialogue with the 86 movie, we're meant to believe, I think we're meant to believe that it's Galvatron
Hmm.
because of the parallels there. But I also feel like it's too soon for Galvatron, but like
Hmm.
I also thought it was too soon to maybe see the reveal of who the master was. So it's that what do I know? What do I know when like the timing is right to do any of this stuff? And who's to say that if it is Galvatron, that it can't go back to Megatron and then maybe something else is introduced where it's he can change form again. I don't know. Like, who knows? Like anything is really possible. But other than that, I'm not gonna. And anything else would just be I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what to guess as far as what that is. So I think we're supposed to think it's Galvatron. So I'm assuming that it's Galvatron. Um, but this sequence, one thing that I think is amazing is you get the page turn of he's kneeling before Megatronus, and then you turn the page and it says I yield. And what I think is great is it shows the like what he was doing while he was in his trials was the thing that we had seen him do before when he was like lashing out against the Decepticons. Like he just like whooped everybody like
Hmm.
while he was going through these trials because everyone else is just like beaten down against the wall, hunched over. Like he just like kicked everyone's ass. Like so, I think it's really cool that it's just implied what he was doing uh, in the Nemesis while he was going through these trials.
I ask you, did you guys? Because when I read this, um, I I assumed that when he is kind of making his way to Megatronus, these kind of like shadow, liquidy Sharkticons, I assumed that like, oh, these are these are actually the Decepticons now trying to restrain him, and he's trashing them like right now. I don't know how time works when he's like in these visions, but I don't know. Did you guys? Because it's not like he's been fighting in the previous trials, but for some reason that's the only way I can make sense of like these Sharkticons is it's just like these are the Decepticons trying to restrain him, and that is like him like actually wiping the floor with the Decepticons.
Yeah, like any path forward of him moving in this dream world or whatever is those are represented in the actual resistance he's feeling in the real world.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's I did not make that connection at all. But I like that. I just assumed that it was just part of this whatever is happening in the in the Matrix. So at first I
Yeah.
was like maybe they're leading him towards Megatronus. Like maybe they're kind of, he's meant to, like when he's entering this palace or whatever it is, the with the the giant Decepticon logo, and they're kind of like leading him down this towards wherever Megatronus is. But I don't know. I like yours way better.
I actually think that this was a good time to reveal Megatronus, because I mean, yeah, you could make the case for like, they didn't bring it up that much in universe, but like at the same time, I think it's like just a reveal, it's not
Yeah.
like kind of like a character arc or like character moments that you need to kind of build up to. And like they kind of made us wait like a year, wondering like who is this guy? Like what are they like doing? Like what's the end game here? And um yeah, I think that like, I think that a year was enough time for just like a reveal. Um, and I don't know, like they kind of forecasted like, hey, look, start thinking about that Megatron stuff. They're like broadcasting it in volume 5. Like we're coming back to that stuff, so start thinking about it. And they like primed the pump for
Yeah.
this issue. I feel like so. Yeah, I don't
I
know.
don't
I oh, go ahead.
No, no, I don't think that it's I don't think that it is actually is too soon. I just didn't think they would reveal it that
Oh,
soon. You know
yeah.
what I mean? Like
No,
I
I
think
hear what you're
I
saying.
love it. I love it that it's there. I just kind of
Yeah.
assumed that this would be this ongoing thing like we don't quite know yet. And
I
that's
get
what
you.
I'm saying. Like
Yeah.
because I didn't think they'd reveal it that soon. Not I know that soon. It's just because you're right, it's a year, but it's also like, oh, this is just like the second issue dealing with like whatever's happening to Megatron. So it's just it's in the grand scheme of things. Like if I think it's too soon for Galvatron, maybe what do I know? Like it's just it's the story they're telling. So there's no rules here. So yeah, but I'm absolutely on board for getting this reveal and seeing where this is going. So I love it.
Yeah, I actually thought that I would agree with you because I actually thought earlier on in the issue when he asks like who Megatronus is and it's like not yet. And it's like, okay, well, we're not going to find out this
Yeah,
issue, Like that was my first reaction. So
it
I
was
was pretty
great. That was
surprised.
a
Yeah,
good misdirect there. I really like that.
right. But I do agree with you. I think it's too soon for Galvatron. I do think that we are supposed to think that it is, but one of the things I do remember from when we talked about issue 19 um, is that it's crazy. I don't think Swizz was here for that one either. I think it was just the three of us for issue
Oh
19.
yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
Time is a flat circle. But yeah, like I mean, I think that we said that it was like too early for Unicron back then, like when we were discussing who the master could be.
Yeah.
And I mean that ended up being true. But I do agree with you. I think it is too early for Galvatron, mostly because I think that Megatron hasn't really been in the comic all that much, all
Right.
things
Right.
considered. He showed up in really actually showed up in volume 4. Um so and also like, no shade against Galvatron. I love Galvatron, but I mean, Megatron is like, he's like the big, he's the like big character from like G1. And I just can't see them like
Yeah.
shying away from that character specifically and replacing him in a way with Galvatron. But again, what do I know? I could be way off, but how come nobody has theorized like what if they're changing him into G2 Megatron? Which, I answered
You're
my
like,
own
"What?"
question.
Yeah.
They're never gonna change him into G2
Well, hold on a
Megatron,
Yeah.
but
second. You might actually be right because there, technically speaking, is a Generation 2 toy of Megatron on the shelf in the Cyberworld line.
oh,
So,
really?
oh yeah,
Ah,
it's like
well,
one of the big
uh,
baby toys. So they could do it.
okay, all
They
right.
have a toy. I'll
But
buy the
it
toy.
does. It feels way too soon because like not only did Megatron not show up until later on, he hasn't been his whole like he hasn't had his arm like for maybe what was it
Right.
like
Or
that many
eyes for
issues.
a
So
little while.
or eyes. Right. Yeah. So he's just like but so it probably is some souped up form like a newish design for Megatron that might be the Energon Universe Hasbro line Megatron. So it's
Yeah, I mean, it would make sense with like what is going on in like the
We-
comic. Like we're
we've got
getting
new
new
leader
stuff.
prime, we've got new
Yeah.
RC. It's you need a to have a successful toy line like an Energon universe. You need things that are different enough to actually need it to exist. So could be another case of like, oh, we'll just add a couple parts here. We could use the same torso, but we'll have new shoulders and like, so it could just be
Carl's
as
thinking like a toy designer.
yeah. But
We got to stay within budget.
that's what that really that's what it might be. It might be just something like that.
Yeah.
That it's just a new souped up version of Megatron.
And I love that Megatron is, potentially getting like this upgrade at the exact moment that Optimus
Yes.
Prime has gotten a quote unquote downgrade. So
Like the yin and the yang, the balance. It's like there's things that are happening.
yeah,
Like one gets a downgrade, one gets an upgrade.
I
So
know it's just like as if the downgrade wouldn't have been bad enough for
right, right.
like handling regular Megatron, but now he has to deal with like Super Megatron.
But how much does that prove or show the merit of Optimus as a character if he's downgraded and now he has to go up against not just Megatron but like upgraded Megatron.
Oh
So
yeah,
it's like
no,
there's
I
great
love
there's
the
like
stakes. The
wonderful yeah
stakes are great.
that's
Yeah.
that's a great way to set those stakes that high. So yeah, all of it is like yeah, I pretty excited now.
Well, guys, again, as we had talked about, this reads as a really quick issue, and I think we've kind of flown through this, and I think there's nothing wrong with that. So I would love to jump into our scores and what we thought overall. Moon, I'd love to start with you to hear your overall thoughts for this issue and what you're going to give it on our rating system.
Ooh, boy. Well, I was really hoping that I wasn't going to go first, but
Well, you liked issue 19 and we hated it, so
it's true.
you're the
It's
true
true.
believer.
I I am. Um,
Anything
so
less than a 10 means you hated it.
Absolutely. That's
No,
I've been saying
no,
that for years.
Just kidding. No, no pressure. No.
so I'm like really torn here because like I there are people that have like really kind of exacting, standards for like, they put a lot of thought and effort into, what is a 9 out of 10 and a 10 out of 10. And I really kind of just gauge it off of my gut. I'm just kind of
Mhm.
like, how much did I enjoy this
Yeah.
issue? And it's like, it doesn't mean that it's perfect. And it doesn't mean it's without flaws, or it doesn't mean that it's on par with another 9 or a 10, or, there's like variance there. Um, but I mean, for me, like, I think that I think that I'm going to give this, I'm going to give it a 9.5 actually.
Okay.
Um,
Whoa.
because I think that this is the best issue of Kirkman's run, and I really enjoyed uh, a lot of the world building and the lore that they put in here. And it was great to see Ludo Lullabi's art again. I'm very excited that it's kind of like this is the start of a different approach in terms of uh, the art that we're going to see moving forward, moving away from the 6 issues with Dan Mora.
Mhm.
Um, so I'm very excited about all that. And I just, again, I like what they're doing with Megatron here. Like they're doing something different with Megatron. Um, now I think I kind of flippantly gave issue 19 a 10 back then. If I were to revisit it, I don't know if it would still be a 10. I did really enjoy that issue. Um, I think that maybe I enjoyed this one. I mean, just a little bit less, and so that's kind of why I'm doing that, but also because I'm kind of like bringing it a little bit more in line with like uh, my feelings on it. Because I don't know if I would still rate issue 19 a 10,
Mhm.
but I did really enjoy this issue. I love the art. I love everything that they're doing with Megatron. Like in a lot of ways, like this is what I would want like the future of this comic to be, where it's like the art is doing some major lifting with the storytelling, and there's nothing in the dialogue that I found to be jarring or that like really stood out to me as like why was this written like this? Um, and yeah, it's just, I think that they really they got Megatron's voice nailed in this, and so yeah, I'm gonna give it a 9.5.
Yeah, so I agree with you. What you say about the ratings and based on feeling, and that's important. Like it's not I don't have I don't have a criteria either based on
You
like
don't have an Excel spreadsheet to
right,
calculate.
right. Oh, hey,
Yeah.
it checked this box, and this box,
Yeah.
and
And
therefore
how
this
does it
is
pertain to
it
everything
equals
else
to
I've
right.
rated? Yeah. We don't do
Exactly.
that.
Yeah. So it's the matter of how it makes me feel in the moment and reading it and how engaged I am with the series. And I'll tell you, like I'm like way more excited. If I was excited for the future at the end of last issue, I'm even more excited now for the future of the series where we stand after this issue. So um, I love that we see Trailbreaker. I love that we got that just the hint of like, hey, there's something here. Like, don't we hear you, but that we have plans, and I like that. And again, it goes back to the thing that we talk about with Robert Kirkman, and it's a long game thing, and it is frustrating. It is frustrating sometimes on a month to month basis. But Moon, you pointed it out in your video about like rereading the arc as a whole, the last arc as a whole, and it being a little more you know, better than the month to month read that we experienced. And I still haven't gone back to read that arc yet, but it's in my plans in the future. I'll probably read it when the trade actually comes out. But anyway, back to this issue. So the feeling I got was. I love the lore stuff that we got, even though who the characters were somewhat lost on me as far as like some of the Decepticons that we saw inside the Matrix there. But I love that it provides us that balance, like I mentioned before. I love that they're filling out this story, so it's kind of clear now that it is about this is going to be a story about the two Matrix, like the oppression and leadership and those qualities that we see in both Optimus and Megatron, and and the leadership of that we're now seeing with Alita Prime and like that story that's going to be told. So that kind of all falls into it. Like what does successful leadership look like? And Megatron's questioning like the oppression, like this thing doesn't work. Like I couldn't control Starscream, so this is worthless. So I just like the questioning the power of the Matrix and what that means for each of these characters. So like it's just interesting stuff. So the other thing, the art made me feel the story. And again, not to harp on Dan Mora, because people, I've seen other reviews that like praise like, oh, this is like these are like some of the best Transformers comics that we've seen in a while, and that's great. That's great for them. Wasn't my experience. So this fully re-engaged me in the I don't know how to say fully, but with the Megatron story, it is very interesting. I love that we're getting you got those hints of the Sharkticon stuff again. It plays into the that this all feels like the Kirkman long game that we're gonna see with like the Void Rival stuff. You got the Quintesson War going on in Void Rivals. So like there's just this feeling of a more inclusive story as far as like all the other books that are going on as well. So it's very promising. So number for this one, I was kind of like I was wavering between two numbers, but I really do think after talking about it more that this is like a 9 for me. I was thinking going into it, is that probably like an 8.5 because it is like a really strong Kirkman issue. But again, because I feel like the pairing of Ludo and Kirkman is a better creative pairing because of the art, the emotions of the art that I'm getting a lot more. So yeah, I'm gonna go 9 because it even like the splashier moments were you got like Mechanicore in that splash page, but the double page spread of the impact of like whatever that the palace, the Decepticon palace that Megatron enters, just that general like world building vibe of you get like saving those moments, those big splash page type stuff for that kind of atmosphere moments. I really like that. It's not just about you know, big robot fight splash page. It's the world building stuff, but then you still get like the Megatronus splash page, which is really cool. So yeah, this is a really promising issue, and yeah, let's get to next issue.
Well, okay, we got Moon with a 9.5, Carl with a 9. I'm gonna continue to complete our set. I'm gonna give it an 8. Not because there's anything that's dragging it down from being a 9, but Moon, just like you said, just kind of the gut feeling for me is an 8. I love this issue. I think this is so fun, especially for me as somebody who's not normally a fan of Ludo Lullabi's art. It does go fast. That's not an issue for me. I think that it's a good use of this quicker pace and kind of just getting straight to the point. And what I love most about it is getting this deeper lore to the Energon universe and to the Decepticons as well. I've always been fascinated with how this world is writing the Decepticons and their culture and their kind of clan and their people. And so it's really exciting to see that lore. So my number is an 8. We did get a text from Swizz during this recording. I'll actually just read it. He said he gives this issue a 7. So you have a 7, 8, 9, 9.5 Moon. You're gonna have to change yours to a 10. I'm sorry. But he said he gave it a 10 out of 10. He said Ludo kicks ass at art, but a typical fast-paced Kirkman issue. So obviously Swizz, who again cannot be in the same room as I, seems like he did not like the faster pace of this. I know his video is up on his channel, so I'm sure you can get more full, complete thoughts from him on that, rather than me, his mortal enemy, talking about his opinions without him being here.
You know what?
Yeah,
I think I will change my score to a 10 because yeah, like
Do it.
because this was a good
Live up to
issue.
full
I
spread.
really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed
Yeah.
it. But one thing I do
We-
want to say. Oh, go ahead.
No, you're going to be like, I can't give this one a 10 too. Like the guys are gonna like,
I mean, Carl's been teasing me about it for a year. You know, I was like, but
But hey, to be fair, you were proven right more than we were. I feel like
That's
you know
true.
you saw the merits of the issue before. It was obvious to you well before it was obvious to the rest of us. So kudos to you for actually.
Mhm.
I will take the compliment. But speaking of Swizz, I feel like I don't remember when, but wasn't he the one that kind of floated the idea that's like, what if the unseen master is Megatronus? Didn't he?
He
I
did
feel
call
like we
it.
got to
feel like
give
he
him
did.
props for
Yeah,
that.
I
He
feel
did.
like he did because
Yeah.
I was all like simpleton going like Unicron. It's probably Unicron. Like I don't know. Like what do I
I
know?
do
Yeah,
recall
so-
him calling it, and I'm pretty sure he texted me the day of release when he got it, and all he texted me was, called it. Because I know,
Yeah, okay.
unfortunately, he was spoiled on the issue, which continues to be a problem.
Yeah.
People just
Which-
full sending spoilers, which is
Which
unfortunate.
it was nice to even see Kirkman like talk about that. He mentioned it in the letters, like I've had my fill for spoilers for a while or something like that. Like
Mm-hmm.
I forget what he. Yeah, oh, yeah, it said I've had enough accidental spoilers to last a lifetime. Is what he said in the letters column. So yeah,
Mhm.
that was bad. Like the what was I out like online for like 2 weeks before the issue. That's
Oh, issue
like,
30. Yeah.
yeah, like that was rough.
Mhm. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. But yeah, there we go. We got a 7, an 8, a 9, and is it officially a 10? Moon?
It's officially a 10. We're
It's
doing it
officially a
again.
10.
History has fully repeated itself. It's Swizz isn't here.
But he did
Ludo
it.
Lullabi's back. It's a Megatron story, and I'm giving it a 10 out of 10.
Yeah,
So,
it just feels right.
This only happens once a year.
yeah.
Well, guys, do you have anything else that you want to say about this issue, or anything very brief, of course, that's happening in the Energon universe right now?
I'm excited. I'm very excited. I'm ready. Like let's bring on the next issue. Like I am so ready to see what Jason Howard is going to bring to this. And yeah, man, I'm loving GI Joe. If you're not reading GI Joe, you're missing out. You don't need to be a
Mm-hmm.
fan of GI Joe. Like, just
I
you will
wasn't.
become a fan by
Yeah.
reading
At
GI
least,
Joe.
at least read issue 20. Issue 20 was
Yeah.
great. As a Transformers fan, it's not. I've said this a couple times. It's not. You're not punished for not knowing these things, but it is such a nice addition to the Transformers story going on when you read Joe issue 20. Even if you don't know the Joe characters, it's fine. It's such a
It's
good issue.
issue 20 is really it's really fitting that even in the moments where I've seen some people because in that that's it's if anyone doesn't know, the cover kind of spoils it, but it's Optimus and Duke meeting for the first time, and uh there is this conversation that they have, and it kind of cuts away to when you think you're going to get like another like a not Megatron, an Optimus story, and it cuts away to some other characters that have their own conversation, and I really like that for that because it's a GI Joe comic. It actually services more the characters in that book, you know. So uh, it's unexpected, but gives us a really great moment between the characters that it does cut away to. So I loved it. I loved issue 20, and I agree though. Anybody who is a Transformers fan, if you just read, yeah, you can read 19 and 20, and you're gonna
Mm-hmm.
really enjoy it. So, but
Can we talk
Joe
about
Joe is
who those characters are that you're, or is that
yeah.
too? We just put a
Yeah, I mean,
spoiler
that's
warning here
yeah, I
for
mean,
Yeah, I
that's
think we're fine.
click
I mean,
away and
probably like those that know probably already know anyway. But it's
yeah,
the relationship between Hound and Clutch, and
the
the, like
best duo in the Energon universe.
absolutely
Absolutely.
that's why like when I hear people complain like, oh well, you didn't hear because Optimus is going to tell Duke a story about like leadership and that kind of stuff, and it cuts away to like a great moment between uh, uh, Hound and Clutch. And because they're the characters that you're going to see more on a month to month basis in the Joe book, I love that it did that. It gave us like a great moment between those two. So, um, yeah, I just think that it was done wonderfully. So right now the Quintesson War is pretty good too with Void Rivals. Like I think
Yeah.
if you like the lore stuff that this issue gave you in the Megatron stuff. I really feel like the stuff that's going on in Void Rivals is connected to what has been happening with Megatron. You know, long
Mm-hmm.
term storytelling. I feel like there's going to be more there than we realize. That as far as like what is actually happening. So yeah, it's really it's a good time to be an Energon Universe fan. So
And
I'm
Mask is
sure.
coming up.
yeah,
Yeah,
Mask. I mean,
I'm excited for it.
me too. Like I think it's
I've warmed up to the idea for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah, me
think
too.
right because and again it's one of those things where I've been on record saying I think it's too soon to do that. I think it's too soon to have another book. But um, I mean I don't know. Like I'm enjoying everything else, so it's kind of like why not? Like why
Yeah.
not have hopefully then that gives us every week a new Energon Universe book that'll hit the stands. If they release it, I imagine they will. That they're going to try to have like each book release on alternate weeks. So I think that'd be great. And every week we get some new corner of the Energon Universe, and for everything that we are getting, for now it to be 4 books as a buy-in, that's like $20 a month, and that's a pretty fair buy-in to get everything that the Energon Universe is giving us. Yeah, I think it's great.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, it's written by Dan Waters, acclaimed
Yep.
author
I
of Batman: Dark Patterns.
Yeah, yeah,
I think I'm supposed to
and
read that, right?
you should totally read Batman Dark Pattern. It's really
Huh.
good. But even if you don't even care about Batman at all, who cares about Batman? He wrote Destro as well. So
Right.
bring it back to the Energen Universe stuff. So and I really enjoyed the Destro miniseries because it was the warring back and forth between Destro and the Crimson Twins, which was a great kind of back and forth dynamic. So
Yeah, I
it's
thought
all
he
good
did a
stuff,
great
man.
job. And he's not a stranger to Transformers, right? Like I think he wrote a special for Halloween special for the IDW2, which I have
Dan
not read.
Waters.
I think so. Yeah, like I'm pretty sure. Like I have not read all of IDW2, but I'm pretty sure I did read that. And I think it was a
Ooh,
Starscream story.
Yeah,
I did
it's
not know
Um,
that.
it's a pretty good. It's a pretty good. I actually have. I mean, I have the hardcovers, but I have a physical copy of that specific Halloween special. It's called I have no mouth and I must Starscream, and it's pretty
That's
good.
right. Yeah.
It's a pretty good. It's I will say it's a great story, but if you're not okay with the ideas that IDW2 introduced, I think it's a pretty jarring place to jump in. But it is a very well written story that I think is worth your time.
Going back to Void Rivals really quick, just really quick. I know that nobody from the Energon Universe team is ever going to hear this, but what do we have to do to get Andre Bresson to stay on the book
Yes,
and to be
please.
a regular artist?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
What do we have to do?
if nothing else, give us a like a Tom Riley, Andrea Milana situation where it's like alternating
Yes.
arcs. Because
Yes.
I really love Andre Bresson on Void Rivals, and
He's a really
I've
good fit.
I absolutely agree, and it's some of the strongest art that we've had in a while. It's obviously I love like the first 24 issues. I think having that all be consistent was great. But since then, it's been kind of uneven for me, and
Yeah.
having Brisson like it adds this extra layer of like grittiness to the story that I feel like works for the like the lived in societies that are there. Because there is like a certain like the Connor Hughes stuff was a little more animated that I think softens some of the grit and weight of the story that's being told. So
I would
yeah,
agree.
Brisson
Yeah.
stuff I love it. I think it's a wonderful fit.
There's a lot going on in the Energon universe. There's so many points of entry, and I think it's. I think we're all in agreement that it's such a great time for this connected universe and for comics, for these franchises and for these different IPs, and for readers to jump in and enjoy lots of different great stories. That was our look at issue 31. Moon, Carl, thanks for being here for it. Swizz, hopefully you and I can patch things up, figure
Come
something out.
back, buddy. We miss you.
I promise I won't say those things again to your face, just behind your back. But thank you all for watching as per usual. We'll see you guys next month when issue 32 arrives. Bye.
Take care.
Bye.